It is the double dip. All right. We already saw Ryan Roberts come on this show, talk to us about the offensive prospects, talk to us about Tyler Warren. He talked to us about all these offensive tackles, but now it's time to go to the other side of the ball because they say that defense wins championships. And we have a champion of our own. His name is Ryan Roberts. He was here on Tuesday. He's back on Thursday. And now it is time to complete the double dip, complete Ryan Roberts week by talking defense. Right after the intro, it's Boy Green meets Wudi.
Can you guys help us get a jet chant here? Yeah, going.
Oh.
Okay, right, yeah. Come on in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go!
J-E-T-S, jet, let's go! J-E-T-S, jet, let's go! There you go, Wudi!
Third Party Thursday.
Chris joining us here on the program with a capital P here on the program.
Jake Asman, come on down. How you doing, good sir?
Wow, what an intro. I mean, Boy Green is known for having the intro, but Wudi, that was unreal, man. Thanks for the kind words, son.
We are men of many names.
My favorite Austrian Jets fan right there,
Yeah.
baby. Boy Green
Meets Wudi. Welcome to another episode of Boy Green Meets Wudi. It is your boy James Wudi, and you already know we are Wudi, rocking everywhere. Right here, this man, he is the boy who became king, Mr. Paul Esden Jr. All right, and the reason why I'm excited, there's energy in my voice is because one of my all-time faves is joining us. You will see a little rectangle beneath both of us, and yes, it will be my man, the myth, the legend. His name is Ryan Roberts. Now let me tell you about this man. I always say, hey, this is my personal favorite. I love his takes. Well, let's talk about him. He has been analyzing prospects for almost a full decade. He is now employed by A to Z Sports as their analyst, and he will be joining us to break down these prospects on the defensive side of the ball. Come on down, Ryan Roberts, and tell us how you doing.
I'm doing well, man. I feel like I don't know if you guys are Game of Thrones fans, but you know how they had like a million titles to their name, right? Like the Prince of Change, the Daenerys Stormborn, like all this type of stuff. I'm just like, all right, hi guys, Ryan, nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you were definitely the prince who was promised. Let me tell you, we are excited to have you. And all the Game of Thrones references, we here for it.
Which, by the way, I actually have them all here. Here is Daenerys Targaryen's full title as she introduces herself. Daenerys Stormborn of the House Targaryen, the first of her name, the Unburnt, Queen of Meereen, Queen of the Andals, the Rhoynar and the First Men, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, Breaker of Chains, and Mother of Dragons. Wow. Okay.
Well, when she walked out of the flames with the dragon eggs is one of the greatest scenes in TV history, right? So yes, it's crazy. We should just do a Game of Thrones podcast instead of talking draft today. I think.
We should really get that on the docket. To be honest, there's a lot to be said there.
We would have to take another hour. We would have to double the length of the show for real.
That's true. Well, there's a lot of places to go, but for everyone that's in our comment section, we're streaming live on my Instagram, my Twitter, my YouTube, and Take Flight Talk. That is James Woody's YouTube channel, talking all things New York Jets. If you guys have questions about anything defense prospect, anything Jets needs on the defensive side of the ball, super chat and send those in. We'll ask those here to Ryan Roberts on the program. And there's prospects in the first round and fifth round and all kinds of rounds. But I guess I'll start off at the top. Mason Graham weighed in at the NFL Combine, sub 300 pounds. Big deal or no deal?
No deal. He played about 315, right in that range this past year at Michigan, and then he was back up at his pro day at 306, right? So it's typically everything. We literally just had on our YouTube channel, we had Taj Brooks, the running back from Texas Tech, who was playing at 230, and he was 214 at the Combine. There's a reason that those things happen, right? You're trying to be light so you can test really well. Mason Graham was planning on testing, and then I think he had a hamstring pull or something, right? So he was trying to lose weight, trying to run as fast as he could. His weight's already back to 306. There's no concern there. He played about 315, 320 last year.
All right, a follow-up. Who is defensive tackle 2 in this class? Everyone talks about Mason Graham, but I've heard a wide range of opinions on the question I just asked.
I like Derek Harmon from Oregon. He's the second guy for me. He's one of the more just versatile defensive tackles in this class, which I value a lot, because like the hard thing about this, guys, is when you're just independent scouting, right? You're kind of scouting for all 32 to a degree, and you have to remember that not all 32 play the same schemes, right? So I typically, in my scouting process, I typically lend kind of favoring guys that can do more ultimately, right? Like guys that are a little bit more versatile, can play multiple alignments, because Derek Harmon at Michigan State previously played mostly nose, and he was about 330 pounds. He went to Oregon this past year, lost like 15, 20 pounds. He was between like 310, 315, and they used him everywhere. I mean, he was playing 3, he was playing 2, 2I, 4, 4I. Like he was playing all over the place and making plays everywhere. So he, I think, also led college football last year on interior pressure. So like he was a penetration nightmare last year for Oregon. So this is a bigger body guy, 6'4" plus, I think almost 6'5", 310, 315 pounds, somewhere in that ballpark. And he can play up and down the line of scrimmage. So that's a guy that I value very heavily in this draft as DT2.
Wow. That's a name. Matter of fact, let me bring out my pen right here, write that down. Because I had a name. At defensive tackle that I now need to pick your brain where he ranks. They've been saying he's in the second round. In the mock drafts that I've been seeing, this has been a very popular second round draft pick that I've seen go to the Jets, and that is Tyleik Williams. How would you put him in the DT list?
Yeah. We just did our DT list, and I think he was either 4 or 5. I don't have my list in front of me, but he's a top 5 defensive tackle in the class for me. He is the best just pure run defender in this class of any defensive tackle. He is 329 pounds. He can't get moved off the spot. Like, you can't dig him out. I mean, at Ohio State this past year, you had talent everywhere, right? Like the 2 edge guys, JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer. You had linebacker Sonny Styles and Cody Simon. Like, there was a lot of talent, not even including the secondary. But Tyleik was a big reason why they were so successful stopping the run last year, because he just held the point of attack, made plays on his own, but ultimately just held the point and let guys run to the football. This kid's an immovable object. His pass rush is not to the degree of like a Derek Harmon, obviously, which is why he is in most second round mock drafts. But I'll tell you this, like if I was a Buffalo Bills, for instance, like a team that can kind of take like a little bit of a niche luxury at the end of the first round, I would consider a Tyleik Williams, because he might never be a great run defender, but what he is going to be is he's going to be like DJ Reader, where it's just like DJ Reader makes you so much better. I think Tyleik Williams makes you a whole lot better playing that nose, playing 1, playing some 2-2I. Like you can't move him. Like he's literally, when he digs in his heels and anchors against double teams, you just can't move him off the spot.
Going back to Graham for a second, we're speaking of mock drafts that Wudi brought up. Mason Graham has been written in permanent marker at 5th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars for months. Is that the proper assumption we should continue to make, or are a lot of people in store for a shock on draft day?
I mean, anything could happen, but I love that fit so much. I've been mocking it consistently as well, but just because I think the Jaguars have not been void of talent the last couple years. They've been void of like attitude. Like they just don't have guys that it's just like they set a tone, they make a statement, and I think they need more of those statement makers, right? And I think that's what Mason Graham is. Like he might get undervalued by some based upon, pass rush at times, but like he's got plenty of pass rush upside, but he is a statement maker. And I think he would make a guy like a Josh Allen Hines and a Trayvon Walker a ton better just by playing next to him. So I like the spot personally. Would it be shocking if he went 1 pick higher? Not necessarily. Would it be shocking if he went a couple picks later? Also not shocking overall, right? But I think top 7, top 8, like somewhere in that bubble. I don't see a Mason Graham falling anywhere out of that spot.
Well, I got some shocking, or at least I was shocked. Rich Cimini, ESPN, right, covers the Jets. He had this tweet came out. I'm gonna read it. It says, "Here's how the ESPN draft predictor sees the Jets pick at number 7." And it's a little chart here of, who's the most likely person to be picked. No surprise, Armand Membu was number 1. That's, a lot of mocks have been doing that. But the number 2 in this chart was Jalen Walker, linebacker, which I think had a couple people going, "Uh-oh." You know? What can you tell us about that? I think I think we would be shocked if he was the pick, but what can you tell us about Walker? What can we expect if that is the pick that is made?
That's a pretty cool chart, by the way. I like that work. I might actually do something similar to that with certain picks. That's very interesting. But Walker it's funny. I'm going to say a name in a minute that I'm sure is going to make you guys cringe a little bit with Walker, but I'm literally writing an article about him right now because there's going to be a fascinating conversation about him between the two different words. One word is versatile, which he is. The other word is tweener, which you never want to be. You do not want to be a tweener, right? And there is a fine line there, right, guys, of you do X, Y, and Z enough that allows you to play multiple roles in a defense. That's a positive. The negative is if you lie too much on the side of not having a true home, that gets really muddy as far as like a full-time evaluation. And he's kind of striding that line because he's got linebacker size, but his best film is off the edge. Like it absolutely is. Like his best film is screaming off the edge, explosive, first step, closing speed. His linebacker film is okay. Like but I think personally he's an undersized edge, and there just isn't a big sample size of like this body type working on the edge. One of the success stories is actually Hassan Reddick, which I know you guys know, but not very well. Based upon, I know. But I remember Hassan coming out of Temple. He was an on-ball guy at Temple. He was a pass rusher. At the Senior Bowl, they moved him to off-ball linebacker because of the size. He went to the Cardinals. He was not very good early because they tried to make him a true off-ball linebacker. And then eventually they were like, you know what? Undersized stand-up rusher, but like that's what he does best. And he did do that really well, obviously for many years, which is why he's been in the NFL for so long. It's his pass rush upside. So I do think if a Jalen Walker works out in the NFL, I think it's going to be in like that vein, like that style of play. I don't see, I think I said Trayvon Walker back, but I don't see Jalen Walker being starting middle linebacker, Pro Bowler. But you could see him being multi-10 sack a year guy off the edge. You have to have him go to a creative defensive coordinator, a guy that understands how to use this player, because if he goes to a team that doesn't understand how to use him, he could unfortunately fall into that tweener mold that you never want to be in.
Which is, by the way, speaking of Hassan Reddick, exactly what happened there with the Cardinals. He seemed like this bust initially of how they misused him. And like, this guy sucks. His final year, they're like, "Ooh, that looks good." He's like, "Skip, see ya." And he ends up going to other places, and I won't mention all the places. That's
so unfortunate in the scouting side of things too, Paul, because it's like, it's so tough because I think that thresholds matter, right? Like I do think arm length matters for certain positions. I do think height and weights and these different measurables, I think they matter. Wingspan, all this stuff. But sometimes we pigeonhole guys just based upon a body type. You look at the guy and you can't be creative in your mind. You can't imagine. And some guys just aren't that, right? Like Hassan Reddick was not an off-ball linebacker. I don't really think Jalen Walker is an off-ball linebacker. Like I think it's going to take creativity. It's going to take an open mind at defense coordinator, but it's going to be about fit that tells you how good that kid will be.
All right, get the scuba gear on here, Ryan, because the name I'm going to bring on is a little deeper in the pool, and I want to give a major shout out to my guy, Charles Davis, a.k.a. Sir Charles Davis of the NFL Network, for putting this name on my radar. I went, who? From where? And I have to give that love here. David Walker out of Central Arkansas. And I went.
Bring it to me. Yeah.
And Central Arkansas, directional Arkansas. Who the hell? So give me the story on David Walker here, because he seems to be everybody's mama's favorite sneaky pass rusher in this class.
He's from the state of Arkansas originally. He went Division II out of high school, went to Southern Arkansas, dominated at Southern Arkansas, transferred up to FCS level to Central Arkansas, and the last 2 years he has been the best defensive player on the FCS level by a landslide. Now, we just talked about outliers, right? There's going to be a couple things about David Walker that some people are not going to like. He's right around 6'1" as an outside pass rusher. He's got 31.5-inch arms. But you know what he has, fellas? You know what he has? He has great film. One, he's got a dynamite first step. He's the most tactical rusher in this class, the slipperiest rusher probably in this class. 267 pounds, so he can actually play the run despite being a little bit undermanned as far as like from an arm length perspective. And he went to the Senior Bowl and he did really well. He went to the combine and his pro day and he tested well. And it's funny because those thresholds don't align with him. They're not going to be positive. But if you look at his relative athletic scores, RAS, it actually works out really high. He's over 8 as an athlete because his other testing numbers was awesome. So this kid has some bend. This kid's explosive. He might only end up being a situational rusher on the NFL level just due to that lack of length. But if you get this kid in the back end of day 2, like late 3rd, 4th round, I'm telling you that kid is going to be a professional pass rusher on the NFL level. He is going to be a guy that has 8 sacks, 9 sacks, maybe even hits into double digits as a preferred pass rusher because that kid's explosive and he's dynamite. He actually came on my old draft podcast when he was in his first year at Central Arkansas. So we're talking 3 years ago now. He's a dynamite kid. He's only been in Arkansas his entire career, and unfortunately, there's not a professional team in Arkansas. So I think he's going to be heading to a different state here very soon.
Which 2 shout outs. First off to Bubba Badshaw. He's our Jets listener that is in Arkansas and always is saying, hey, can we get some more Arkansas talk on the program? So I promised I'd do that for him, and maybe I'll do that for him in just a minute. In the Beast, shout out to Dane Brugler, who just dropped this puppy. He has David Walker as a 4th-round draft choice, his number 21 ranked edge rusher in this class. So, there is some hubbub here for David Walker.
Can I tell you a funny little side story on David Walker, if I can?
Please.
So it
sure.
was
yeah.
2 years ago. It was during the 2023 season. I thought he was going to come out last year, so I thought he would be a part of the 2024 NFL draft. He decided to go back for his final year. And I was texting with the scouts, okay, about David Walker. I'm like, hey, what do you think about him? And he told me, oh, man, the size scares me. I don't think this is an NFL player. I think he's, could play in a different league, but I just don't think he's an NFL guy. He texted me the first game of this year. He played against, I think, Arkansas State. So that's an FBS team. So
more Arkansas.
And this guy's a Southwestern scouts for a NFL team. And he texted me, he said, I must admit, you were right about David Walker. I was wrong. And I'm like, yes, that's the win right there, man.
There you
That's
go,
the
baby.
win. So, I love that stuff, though, man. He's just, that kid is going to be a professional pass rusher on the NFL level, whether it is as a designated one, whether it is as a full-time one. All I know is he is going to add something to the pass rush room very, very quickly.
I love it. I love hearing about these gems. Hopefully the Jets would be lucky enough to cop, whether it's 3rd, 4th round. Let me ask you because that's a deep, like Boy Green said, we brought up the scuba gear, got the deep dive. What is the position where you would say is like the thinnest defensive position? Like we can only get a snorkel, if that, to try to find players, like someone a position where hey, if we're not getting someone 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, this person's just a complete project.
I think out of every defensive position, I would probably say linebacker, and I don't really hate the linebacker class. I think it's a pretty solid class, but I mean, corner is crazy deep this year. Safety is a good class. Interior defensive line they rival running back as far as being the deepest class, and then edge is quality as well too. Edge is a good group as well. So I think linebacker is just a solid group, and it's a solid group. And this is a defensive draft without question. The offensive side of the football, like it lacks true left tackles. Quarterback class, we talked about that a ton, right? But defensive wise, this is a deep class in my opinion. But I think linebacker is probably the thinnest of a really good side of the football.
So should I light this question on fire? I had written on here on my little paper sheet here. Ask Ryan. Okay, thanks, Paul. His favorite off-ball linebacker he likes on day 3. Should I just cross that one off?
Oh no, man, no. You ask. I love those questions.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Submitted.
And it really it really depends because there's a couple guys I think are like borderline top 100 players that could end up going in that range because of like Chris Paul Jr. is a guy that I really like a ton out of Ole Miss. Pooh. He's awesome, man. He's really good. Now, his thing though, I think he'll probably go top 100, but like if we're talking about like the borderline of day 2 and day 3, it's because he's small. Like he's very small. He would actually have the shortest arms of any off-ball linebacker recorded by Mock Draftable since 1999 that is drafted, like overall drafted. So like he's a smaller guy, man. He's only 220 something pounds. He's got short arms. Like he's not a big dude, but that kid is so instinctive. He can run for days, coach's son, those cliches, right? But like he is just always instinctively in the right spot, and he can run. I mean, ran like 4.64, I think, at the combine. So like that kid is athletic. He's really smart. I think he could go top 100, but like if he was there in the early portion of the 4th round, would I be shocked? No, I wouldn't overly be shocked. I mean, it really just depends on how the board ultimately falls for him. But he would be one if he was there in the 4th round. Any team that needs a linebacker, I'd be like, just go run, just go run to the podium. Don't overthink it. Like he's a tremendous football player. He really is, man. I like him a ton, and I think that there's also a chance that like a Smile Munden out of Georgia could be there on day 3 as well, because he was a little bit banged up this year for Georgia. He's more of a guesser than like an instinctual player, but man, that kid is athletic as hell. Like he's super athletic. He might be the best coverage linebacker in this class. And if you just wanted to draft him, especially early on, and be able to play sub and let him be a dime backer, like that type of stuff, I think he has a tremendous upside in that spot as well. So a couple guys there. I can go a little deeper if you want, like a Jack Kaiser, more of like a 5th, 6th rounder out of Notre Dame, who's a pretty
Golden
interesting
Domer,
football
baby.
player. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he played like a ridiculous. He played in 69 career games. Nice, right? Like 69 career games, I think was the total at Notre Dame. Nobody has ever played more college football games than Jack Kaiser, ever, because of the COVID year. He had the COVID year and he had the redshirt year, all that type of stuff. So he's played a ton of snaps. He's played mostly rover in his career, which is like in Notre Dame's 4-2-5 system is like that Sam linebacker out in space a ton. But this past year he played will linebacker. So a guy in like the 5th or 6th rounds that is at least going to play a lot of special teams. You can't go wrong with that type of kid.
Well, let me ask you. This is more of like a general question, like just based on the position. Because one thing about QBs that they used to say, I don't know if they say it anymore after seeing some guys how they've improved, but they usually say that with a QB, it's tough to like improve accuracy, right? If they were like inaccurate, like mechanics, like in college at the NFL level, those issues usually persist. You know, Josh Allen being like the one like major exception to the rule. So I looking at those same rounds that we was just talking about, round 5, round 6, you know, some of these scuba type players. I've been seeing the hype on Billy Bowman Jr., right?
Yes.
And talking about ball hawk, you know, out here getting picks, you know, deflections, but the boy can't tackle. Which Jets fans, I'm sure, as soon as I say those words, they're like, "No, pass." So, in your experience, is tackling one of those things where you can't pick it up? Is there something Aaron Glenn? Can they do drills? Steve Wills, can somebody do drills to teach these people how to tackle, or is that an instant thing where they just can't do it at the pro level?
You can improve tackling if it's a technical issue, obviously, right? Like you can do a million drills and improve that intent and that process, but you can't improve a guy being longer and being bigger than he is, right? And like that's the deficiencies that Billy Bowman has. Billy's tremendous at diagnosing things, and he's got good range, and he's explosive, and he is a ball hawk. Like he's a guy that gets his hands on the football and he makes plays. Like he's in the right spot and he's athletic. The problem is that he's like 5'10" with short arms, right? So like there's just like we're talking about range as a tackler. Sometimes you get to spots and you just can't finish plays because of lack of length or lack of explosiveness. Now he has explosiveness, but I just think it's the lack of length. Like just some things are just going to be out of his reach at times. He's not going to be able to wrap up consistently, like those types of things. It's not bad intent. Like he'll come up and he'll put his nose in there, but I think he's just naturally always going to miss some tackles. Like he just is. He's not, again, it's not a horrible technical tackler. He's just small. Like he's just small at the end of the day. But if you want a coverage safety on maybe early on day 3, that could also play some nickel for you, which is what I think Billy Bowman could do. I think he could be a versatile piece. I think that you're getting a value there. But if you're drafting him to be a guy that's going to play a lot towards the line of scrimmage and make tackles, it's probably not going to be his best role in the NFL level.
Again, we're speaking with Ryan Roberts, NFL draft college football analyst for A to Z Sports. I feel like the Jackson 5, ABC 1, 2, 3, A to Z, giving us all the scoop skis on all things NFL draft, baby. And shout out to everyone who's watching live on the show. We also appreciate the people that watch after the fact that can't watch live. Salute to you guys as well. At this very moment in time, Ryan Roberts, there is a prospect at the Jets facilities. He is enjoying a top 30 visit. That is Texas defensive back Andrew Makuba. and he seems like a pretty versatile guy. I'm curious, where do you see him lining up at the next level? How do you see that transition from college to the pros?
I love Makuba. He's safety 3 in his class, in my opinion. Like for
Wow.
me, it's Starks, Imenwari, and then I think it's Andrew Makuba. And I know some people will have Xavier Watts, some people will have Billy Bowman. Like it really depends on just kind of your flavor. Makuba was a guy that I watched a lot of Clemson his previous couple years, and for me, like I always thought he was a really smooth coverage player, can make a lot of players from depth. And then Texas, I don't know what happened. And Wudi, it's funny you just asked about like getting better in the run game. He went from an average run defender at Clemson to a dog, like out of nowhere. I don't know where this came from, but like he's coming to balance more consistently. He's being super physical downhill. He's had some like just knockout shots this past year at Texas. So now I'm talking about a smooth athlete on the back end that is also a guy that can be an impact run defender. So I'm missing like what the big negative is on him. He might not be as good at Malachi Starks as one or two things. He's not as good as Nicky Mamori at a couple different things as well. He probably isn't even as good at Xavier Watts as like being a diagnostic, type of safety. But what he is he's pretty good at everything, man. Like he's one of the better all-around safeties in this class. So I would draft him top 100 and I wouldn't even think second about it. I might even take him top 64. Like I think that he's a top 2-round guy potentially, because I'm just kind of missing like what's the hole in Andrew Makuba's game. I mean, he maybe doesn't have like crazy ball production, but he also doesn't give it up a lot either, right? Like that's kind of the double-edged sword that you play with there. But so I think that he's a really good all-around player, and I think that he's a starting safety in the NFL, and I thought that he was tremendous this year for the Longhorns.
Makuba Matata. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Wudi.
That was ridiculous. So would you say year one starter for Makuba Matata? That's if he's a Jet, we gotta say that for his whole career. But year one starter?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, because he's one of the more experienced safeties in this class, right? Like there might even be there's a couple safeties that I think you probably want to be a little bit more of a slower in the process of letting him like really just kind of get up to speed and kind of dipping in a little bit, a little bit lighter, and then we'll eventually add more to your plate. But I mean, he's a kid that has played a ton of reps at both Clemson and then Texas this past year. So experience-wise, I think he has it. I think he's seen a lot of different, and the good thing about him too, Wudi, is that like he played at Clemson a different scheme than what he played at Texas this past year, right? Like fundamentally there were some similarities, but his role changed a lot. And at Texas, he was playing a little bit more downhill. He was rotating down a lot more. Clemson, they were asking him to play from the roof a little bit more. So he's rotating more to the middle of the field at times. So he's worn a lot of different hats. He's had a lot of different roles. And I think that experience is going to help him be able to transition pretty early in his career.
Again, we got 300 people in the room right now. Like the video, hit subscribe across our social media portals, baby. We appreciate all the support coming through. And again, another reminder, baby, keep those raffle tickets and memberships and super chats coming, because we're doing a draft day giveaway ahead of the draft. We only have 5 days left. The official Jets draft hat, official Jets draft shirt, and the draft day movie. Again, if you spend $2.99 on this channel, either with a super chat or a membership, you are eligible for that contest. There are no limits on how many raffle tickets you can purchase. All right, let's keep it rolling here. You mentioned this term earlier, and it made me say, oh, well, that's got to be a question. And it's the who is, again, and we're talking specifically defense here, who is the don't overthink it and just pick it player in this draft that you could look sideways, go, maybe the arm length, maybe the combine, maybe something that someone said, an anonymous coach somewhere said, like, who is the guy that, like, forget all of that? The tape is the truth. The eye in the sky do not lie. Who is that guy?
I have two, actually. One is Demetrius Knight from South Carolina, the linebacker. I love Demetrius Knight, man. He has one of the more fascinating backstories that you're going to find in this class. He was a quarterback at Georgia Tech. Then he transferred to Charlotte and transitioned to linebacker full time. And then he went to South Carolina this past year. And he is going to be overthought by some because he's an older prospect. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. And some people hate age. And some teams do have age guardrails. Like the Cleveland Browns wouldn't even probably give this guy a sniff. Like they just wouldn't. They'd be like, nope, we're not taking him top 100 because he's too old. They just would. They have age guardrails there. But that's
just real quick. That's sort of just real quick. That's sort of ironic that Cleveland would have that age gap. Weren't they ones who drafted like 28-year-old Brandon Weeden a couple years ago at quarterback in the first round? What the hell?
It was a different regime, but yeah. I mean, they did do that.
Sure.
Absolutely. So, but apparently Andrew Berry is big on, in the top 100, he's drafting like 21, 22-year-olds. And like, so he's got the age guardrails on there
15-year-olds,
for whatever reason, yeah. So he likes the long runway, I guess, for players, which, to each their own. I think it has some validity. I think it also is a little bit nearsighted in certain cases. And I think this is one case that it could be nearsighted because he's a little bit of an older prospect, but man, the range is real. Super physical, good diagnostic skills. Like that kid's, you're going to draft him in top 100. He's going to be your middle linebacker for the next 6 to 8 years, and you're not going to think twice about it. Like that's your guy ultimately. And the other guy is Kobe Bryant from the corner from Kansas. I love this kid, man. I love him. He's only about 6 foot, 180 pounds. So he's not the biggest guy as far as like his he's a little bit slender, I guess, for lack of a better term, from a physical perspective. But he's got good length. He's got good movement skills. And this kid is one of those dudes that has a demeanor that you just can't teach. Like, he wants to win every rep. He is super competitive. He'll tackle. So he's a guy that I think could play outside, obviously, but I also think he could play inside at nickel. So if you wanted a corner that's a little bit more versatile, a guy that could play both outside and in, I think Kobe Bryant in like round 4 is a tremendous value that a team can have.
Damn, sound like the basketball Kobe, that versatility.
Hit him now. Yeah. One of my favorite players in this class is Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. The 16.5 sacks. There's a lot to like. And again, this is going to make Jet fans very angry. I think pass rusher is higher on the Jets wish list than anyone realizes. So he could maybe be in the range. It depends on, I guess, what your stock is of him. What do you make of him in this edge class?
Well, Paul, I think we're going to disagree on this one a little bit.
I'm
sorry.
no.
Just slightly disagree. I think.
Okay.
Hey, talk to him. Talk to him.
Yeah. Ezeraku, here's what I like. Let's go with the like first, right? You mentioned
sure.
Very productive. Very productive. 16.5 sacks this past year, 21 tackles for loss, 80 total tackles. Really good. I also think that he's a very smart rusher. I think he understands how to set up angles, and he understands how to take advantage of angles, which is a big thing for a pass rusher. I don't think he's ever going to be much of a run defender just because I think he lacks a little bit of just natural size. I mean, he played last spring, scouts had him at about 236 pounds. So like, he's another like lightly built dude. And I just don't think he's going to be a huge asset in the run game. And I just think otherwise, like, he's got a bunch of solid, and this is me saying that I think that he's a good player for the range. I just think he's a little bit overrated in this class overall. I mean, I think there's a chance he goes top 20. Like, I think he's going to go top 20 potentially in this class. Like,
wow.
Yeah. Right. 19 to Tampa, I think, is a spot to like especially watch, because here's what's in Ezeraku's favor. He's one of the safer picks as far as he doesn't have off the field. He had production. He doesn't have injuries. Cool. And then we now have a couple of edge rushers in this class, like James Pierce Jr., for instance, out of Tennessee, where there's a lot of character concerns off the field, and that's going to cause him to fall. And when you fall at a position that matters so much, pass rushers affecting the quarterback, somebody has to rise up, because you're always going to value pass rushers. So I think Ezeraku is one of the guys that is he's profiting off of some guys falling a little bit, so he's getting pushed up. If we're talking about Ezeraku, like early day 2 Ezeraku, right? Like top 50 Ezeraku, I'm cool there, man. Like, I'm good. But top 20 Ezeraku, that's just a little too rich for my blood personally.
And I just want to say, then we were swimming in the same Ezeraku pool. I didn't know there were multiple, but I'm glad we're clarifying that early day 2 somehow, again, Rain Dance 42 available for our New York Jets is where I'm swimming. But again, I think it speaks to, and I'm trying to consume as much draft content in radio form, video form, podcast, every form I can. I think it goes to, I think Field DH just said this on the Mega ESPN mock, that after we get past whatever the pick is, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what one team has as the 10th best player is what another team has as the 30th best player in terms of just this varying opinions. And if that's true, that speaks to perhaps an Ezeraku, who one person, I'm like, oh, can't wait for him in the second round. All of a sudden, the commish comes up to the board and goes, hey, 19th overall. I'm like, son of a, what the flying, dude? So, yeah, maybe you're right that we get a little bit of that action happening,
It's one of the more wide open drafts that I can remember. Typically this time of year, I'm like, I see mock drafts and I'm like, come on, man, that's not realistic. Like that player's not gonna be available round 2. They're not gonna be there round 4, et cetera, et cetera. This year, I've been much more forgiving of those types of mocks because I'm like, the volatility that we could see, like especially like pick 30 to 70 this year is gonna be wild, man. There's gonna be some guys picked where you're like, hey, I saw him in a 4th round mock and he went like 36, and it's just like, it just is what it is, man. Like it's because that range is so closely packed together this year. Like that's the thing, is that there's not a huge separation. That is the bulk, and that's actually the strength of this class, I think, is like pick 30 to 70, like somewhere in that range. There's not a lot of huge gaps, and so there's going to be some guys that get, it's going to come down to, I think we talked about this, a couple days ago, it's going to come down to your flavor. Like, what are you looking for in a pass rusher? What are you looking for in a wide receiver? It really is going to depend on preference in that range, especially.
All right, my last one here is just softballing you one more name at pass rusher. He's the thumbnail of this video, for Pete's sake. Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State made a lot of friends in the college football playoff. All right, so, okay, me and you battled it out in the octagon over Ezeraku, so I will give no opinion of how I feel about Jack Sawyer. I will simply ask you about the name. Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope you don't love him, because I don't. Oh, man.
I will make no comment on that.
Okay. Well, I went on a podcast yesterday, Mo Egger, who is a guy in Cincinnati, so he has deep ties in like Ohio State and Cincinnati. And he asked me about Jack Sawyer, and this was kind of my commentary on Jack. I think Jack Sawyer is in like the Sam Hubbard mold of edge rushers, which there is nothing wrong with. Sam Hubbard has been a good, solid player for Cincinnati for years, like 7 years.
I think he just retired.
Yeah. So he's been a good player, man. Like, he's a good football player. He'll play the run well. He'll maintain his gap integrity. He'll be able to move him around a little bit because he's a pretty physical dude. Like, there's a lot to like about a Jack Sawyer, like there was a lot to like about a Sam Hubbard. Here's the problem, is that I don't think that he is going to win a ton with clean reps in the NFL as far as like quick wins. And what translates to the next level? It's quick wins, because otherwise you're kind of a cleanup sack guy. And that doesn't mean you're bad, but that also means that you're like Harold Landry last year, where you had 9 sacks for Tennessee, but like your pass rush win rate was awful and your pressure rate was awful. Like, you actually weren't a consistently good football player. You just got some cleanup sacks. Like, that's kind of what I think of Jack Sawyer. It's funny, like, we always talk about, so when people ask about quarterbacks, it's typically a good thing when some of the first strengths out of your mouth are intangible based, right? Like, he's a clean processor, he's a really good leader, like all that type of stuff. It's not as good when I ask you that question about like an edge rusher, for instance, right? And first few things that come out of your mouth about an edge rusher is, man, great leader, plays really hard. And I'm like, okay, can we talk about the bend at some point? Like, first step quickness? Can I talk about the explosiveness? Like, something. And unfortunately, like, Jack Sawyer's just kind of that guy to me. Like, he's more of a good rotational glue guy on the NFL level that could potentially be a low-end starter. Like, that's what I think he is. Kind of like a Sam Hubbard. Again, like, he's valuable, but I think in a class that has so many talented pass rushers, I've knocked him down a little bit just because I think that his ceiling is very limited, if that makes sense.
Complete sense.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I will just say this, and I'm sure I speak for Wudi. Wudi will speak for himself here, I'm sure. It's so cool that we're able to do this with it. You're a very busy man, and people can check it out at Rise N Draft, and the letter Rise, RISE, N, the letter again, Draft. Where people can check out all of your stuff and all your radio appearances you're making all over the place, your articles you're doing, your podcasting that you're doing. You can find it all in one-stop shop. Terrific. An absolute knowledge pool for us. Me and Wudi are going to be together for a big chunk in 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact, for the 2025 NFL Draft first round. We're doing a mega 5-hour live stream. We're going to have a variety of guests joining us on the shows, and all this knowledge is certainly only going to help, and I love you being able to take the time, Ryan. So thanks for this year and last year. And man, it looks like we got a new tradition we're booking for you, apparently, every year moving forward.
I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you all, as always, for having me. I'm glad that we're almost to the finish line, because this is the time of year where things get a little like, all right, man, let's get there. Let's flip the page to 2026. I'm going to start watching some 2026 guys over the next week or so as well. So I appreciate you guys so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Of course, our pleasure. I mean, just the insight, like even what you just said right there about, evaluating edge, right, versus QB. Those are things that, people don't think about. Just being able to, pick your brain, get your philosophy. That's why what I like when I said before on Tuesday's show that like there's no one that I take more from. That's what I mean. It's not just the facts, but it's how you've arrived to the facts, how you defend your points, right? It's not like, oh, I hate this guy because he wears socks with sandals. No, you bring up the valid points. So now the Jets pick up Jack Sawyer. I'm gonna be heated. All right, why you do that? I'm kidding.
Nah, man, I appreciate it. I'm glad also that you guys let me give my philosophy and stuff like that out there on scouting, because I believe it or not, my wife doesn't want to hear about it all the time. So I appreciate you guys for letting me get some of this stuff off my chest. Yeah.
Yeah, well, beautiful. So, Ryan, awesome. We'll enjoy the rest of your coverage. Again, everyone follow him on Twitter at RiseNDraft, and you can catch up with all the latest leading up to the draft and apparently immediately after for 2026. We can't wait for it. Ryan, thanks, brother.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
There he goes, James Wudi. We finished our annual Ryan Roberts pilgrimage, Ryan Roberts week, as you put up in the lights for Tuesday, Thursday. Shout out to you. I've known Ryan for a long time. He's before becoming just kind of an overall NFL draft analyst, and he still does a lot of this. He's a Notre Dame guy. So that's how we intersected. My father's our father is a diehard Notre Dame Golden Domer. So that's how I met Ryan, and then thus got into networking. It's just so cool. So shout out to you for saying, hey, man, we got to make this a thing. And I'm like, okay, let's do it, baby. So it's awesome.
Knowledge is power. So that's what it is. I'm trying to get powerful. I'm trying to become knowledgeable. All right. I'm trying to see what's going on. There's only so much that, any one person can do. So being able to network with those knowledgeable people, it's a blessing. And hopefully all you guys also were able to take a lot of nuggets out of what he said. Cause that's what I said. Like just, so many people, get in front of a microphone, or I guess behind a microphone, however you want to, say, but, get by a microphone and just say things, right? They say things, they're heated, they're live, whatever, but they're just talking. Ryan Roberts is actually educating the people. He has educated us on this show. He is, hopefully you feel like you've learned something, and that's what I love. That is, I cannot get enough of that, how he puts his points together. And, I hope you guys enjoyed Ryan Roberts' week as much as I did.
So starting next week on Tuesday, if I have my days correct in my brain, we're going to be doing the visits. The Jets have met with a ton of prospects and continue. Like I said, the Andrew Bakuba news came in right before the Ryan Roberts joined us. So with all the pro days over, this is where the top 30 visits are all going to fit in over the next 2 weeks of who the Jets are looking at even more intently. We're going to dive through that list and tell you the ones that stand out the most. So I'm looking forward to that coming up on Tuesday.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. We got all this content. Draft month, we are here. All right. Breaking everything down every which way. So yes, please, you do not want to miss next week either. As we break down that list.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As Sharon says, go Irish, baby. Thanks everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily. Take care, everybody.